In this session, we are going to discuss about of the after completion of the enterprise structure and as well as the global settings. Today we are going to discuss about of the general ledger settings. General ledger settings. General ledger settings. So for example, if our client is asking to maintain some of the ledgers, that means we are working for the client of the some XYZ and the client is saying that they require some of the ledgers, so that whenever they want to create their ledgers, what would be the requirements for us? So in this situation, first of all, in the general ledger settings, the first thing which we require the chart of accounts. Chart of accounts. And what exactly by the chart of accounts means? It is a set or a group of accounts for a particular company code. That means if any company code is there and whatever that company code is maintaining all their ledgers in a centralized hub, that means simply we can say that it is a shelf or a rack, whatever the ledger books can be stored. So that shelf or rack, which we are calling as a chart of accounts. And for creation of these chart of accounts, we will go for SPRO, SAP reference IMG, SPRO, SAP reference IMG, financial accounting, general ledger accounting, GL accounts, master data, GL accounts, master data, preparations, under that edit chart of accounts list. From here on SAP, after logging here, SPRO, and for this the transaction code is OB13. Transaction code was OB13. Transaction code is OB13. From here, log on, and that give the user ID and the password. Give the user ID and password, and after that, from here, what would be our password? Welcome 123. And from here, for the creation of a chart of accounts, SPRO, SAP reference IMG, and then financial accounting, general ledger accounting, GL accounts, master data, preparations, under that edit chart of accounts list. Here we need to create our chart of accounts list by using that select new entries, and what is your required chart of accounts. That means whatever the client is asking that they need to maintain the chart of accounts, and here we need to give that the name of that chart of accounts. That means simply we can say that the shelf name, whatever the ledgers which we are maintaining, all the ledgers can be stored under one shelf or rack. What is that shelf name? Here we have to go for new entries and the shelf name. So as which we have discussed already, we are working for the client of the Samsung. So that here I am giving as SAMC. So anything we can put it, there is no issues, or else we can maintain the same as the company code also. There was not a problem at all. Under this shelf for the rack, under that means under the chart of accounts for company code S123, and what would be the language which you want to use? English, and the length of the GL account number. That means under this chart of accounts, whatever the ledgers which we are maintaining, for each and every ledger we need to give some number for the identification. That means if there is a shelf will be there, how much of the length and width should be there for the chart of accounts. That means how many ledgers we can maintain under this chart of accounts, and the maximum number length of the chart of accounts is there in 10 digits. That means we can create the ledgers under the chart of accounts from 1 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Up to this much of the ledgers we can create. But for your chart of accounts, how much you want? So let me take it as 5 digits. That means I can create the ledgers under the chart of accounts for the maximum of 99,999, and then make it save. Done. And now come back, which we have created the shell for the rack. But after creating of this shell for the rack, we can assign this for our company code. That means whatever that chart of accounts which we have created, that has to be assigned for the company code. For here, assign in the same menu path we can here company code to chart of accounts. Assign company code to chart of accounts. For making of this with the same menu path here also, assign company code to chart of accounts. In the same menu path this one also, but instead of edit chart of accounts list, we will go for the assign company code to chart of accounts. Assign company code to chart of accounts. For this, the transaction code is OB62. OB62. Here goes here. Assign company code to chart of accounts, and then go for the position button. When you are going to the position button, it's asking about what is the company code, and the company code which you have to give here is as, here it was running S123, and this is having the chart of accounts with the name of SAMC. That means simply we can say that for maintaining of a ledgers, first of all we have prepared a shell for a rack, and that the shell for the rack contains the ledger numbers up to the 99,999, and after that we made the assignment of the chart of accounts to the company code. Now we can clearly say that we can have the one chart of accounts or one shelf, and that shelf has been maintained into our company code, Now under this shelf or a chart of accounts, what are the ledger books we want, which we can call as an define account groups. Define account groups. Here, define account groups. So for creating of these of the account groups, we are having the transaction code of the OBD4. See, in the same down here, define account group, and here go select the new entries, When we are going to the new entries, first of all it asking that under which chart of accounts you are going to create the ledgers. So under the chart of accounts of SAMC, under the chart of accounts SAMC, I need the account group of the LIAB, liabilities. That means the client wants to maintain the ledgers of the liabilities under separate one group or a book. That book name is which they are calling as liabilities, and that book can consist of the number of the ledgers, the maximum of 99,999 as which we mentioned. But for this book, what you want, I am giving here it is an A 1 to 99. As like as I want another one assets. In the assets which I am require the 100 to 199, and as like as capitals, the capitals can contain from 200 to 299, and as well as incomes something around 300 to 399, expenses from 400 to 499. Instead of like this, either we can create the current liabilities, other liabilities, current assets, fixed assets, leased assets, equity share capitals, other capitals, direct incomes, indirect incomes, direct expenses, indirect expenses, whatever it was. But as per the client said that we need to create. This is called as creation of a chart of accounts, and after creation of the chart of accounts, assign the chart of accounts to the company code and make over the creation of a account groups which are required for us under that chart of accounts. And at last, which we can go for define or maintain retained earnings account. What it was? Define or retained earnings account. Maybe we hear this word but not confidently what it was. Let me see here. At the end of the financial year, the balance amount from the profit and loss, has to be transferred to the next year's balance sheet. For that, the system will automatically takes place with the help of this return. So simply we can say that what exactly by the retained earnings account, in the sense of the account whatever we are maintaining at the end of the financial year, the balance amount in the profit and loss account, whether it is a debit balance or it is a credit balance, that has to be reaches into the next years of the balance sheet by this account. So whatever the balance which we are maintaining or whatever the balance which we are having under this profit and loss, that opening balance has to be, that closing balance has to be comes into the next years of the balance sheet, as in the same way that is called as retained earnings account. Simply we can say that at the end of the financial year, the balance amount in the profit and loss account should be transferred to the next year of the balance sheet as an opening debit balance or an opening credit balance. That will be automatically comes by through with this retained earnings account. So for that, from here in the retained earnings account, define retained earnings account, in the chart of accounts of SAMC and in the profit and loss statement of plus or minus. Even if we can see here, it was clearly mentioned that in this chart of accounts, the BIL in the sense of balance carry forward. What is the balance in the sense of the profit and loss balance? Here it was mentioned there in the P&L statement plus or minus. That means the system will recognize that at the end of the financial year, in this chart of accounts, the balance has to be carried forwarded. If that balance was plus or minus in the profit and loss statement, has to be transferred to the balance sheet of the liabilities. So that in the balance sheet, whatever the ledgers which we are given is liabilities, assets, and capitals. From there, we can mention any number and just make it safe. Done. That means the system will automatically recognize that this chart of accounts can have the balance carry forward. That means that it can have the balance. It should be forward the balance of the profit and loss, whether it is a plus or minus, into the next years of the balance sheet account by using this transaction of BIL. This is what we can call as a retained earnings account. So what exactly by the retained earnings account, in the sense of at end of the financial year, the balance amount whatever we are maintaining, or else whatever the company code is having the balance sheet, that balance amount has to be transferred to the next year structure. Hello, 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 hello.
I couldn't hear you at all.
Yeah, that's why I have stopped. Now is it okay?
Oh, yes. I thought there's some problem.
Right. No problem. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So after completion of the general ledger settings, that means whatever we require, the settings which we have created, next we have to go for the creation of a ledgers. That means we have taken the liabilities, and these liabilities can have from 100 to 100, and the capitals can have from this to this. Like that we have created the settings. Now we need to create the ledgers under that books, and that means under that account group. That's what we can call as an creation of a general ledgers. But for creation of these general ledgers was very important. Instead of the general ledger being as any financial people, we can't do anything. So that let's be concentration on the creation of a general ledger accounts. And basically, as per the transaction wise, all the ledgers has been divided into the two parts. One is balance sheet and the second one is profit and loss. As per the transaction wise, we can have totally two types of the ledgers will be there. One is the balance sheet and the second one is the profit and loss. And here we need to check it out. What is the balance sheet accounts can have, what are the options the balance sheet accounts can have, and what are the options the profit and loss accounts can have. For here is, for here, for this from here, the first thing in the balance sheet, the first option is, which we can do that, liabilities, assets, and capitals. Liabilities, assets, and capitals are comes under onto the balance sheet. So first of all, we need to know that all the balance sheet can have the liabilities, assets, and capitals. As in the same way, in the profit and loss, which we can have the incomes and expenses. So the first point is all the liabilities, capitals, and the assets can be comes under onto the balance sheet, and as well as all the incomes and expenditures will be reaches to the profit and loss account. This is the first point. And the second thing is that only balances in local currency. That means whatever the ledger which we are creating under the balance sheet, is that ledger can have or can work for the or can work only for the company code currency itself. That means that ledgers should not have any other currencies except of the company code currency. Say for example, of which our client is working in the US, that means that currency was the US dollars. And what I'm going to say that if you can accept this option, what will be happens is under that ledger we can't post any transactions except of the US dollar. So is that option can be suitable for the balance sheet or not? Means actually. Why? Because the balance sheet should not have any transactions except of the company code currency. That means the balance sheet should have only the balances under the local currency, not any other currencies. Not any other currencies. As in the same way, can we say that the balance sheet also can have only the currencies of the local currency in the sense of no. Why? Because in the profit and loss, either we can do the out of currencies also. So that here we should not maintain the local currency. So that here not active. For the balance sheet, we can have the only balances in local currency, but not for the profit and loss accounts. The profit and loss accounts can have the out of currencies also. That's why I'm not maintaining as a local currency. And the next third point is open item management. That means is the balance sheet accounts can have the opening balances or not, as which we said it in the previously also. The profit and loss account balance should be transferred to the next years of the balance sheet. That means the balance sheet can have the opening balances will be there automatically. So that here activate, but the profit and loss accounts cannot have the opening balances. Why? Because those of the opening balances of the profit and loss should be transferred to the next years of the balance sheet, so that it should not have the any opening balances. So that here it was not active. And the fourth option here it was line item displaying. That means whatever the transactions which we are maintaining under the balance sheet, that means either in the liabilities, assets, or capitals. Liabilities, assets are in the capitals. Those can have the itemized display. That means those of the ledgers can have the line item wise display will be there or not. So simply we can say that it can have the line item display. It should be active. And even in the profit and loss accounts also, whatever the transaction will be there, those also can be item as display active. And the fifth one is sort key. Sort key. This is the sort key which we can use as an 001. That means if there is a one ledger will be there, under that ledger there was a multiple of the transactions will be there. All those transactions can be shown in a report. How it has to be shown? By using the keyword of date wise or the amount wise or the narration wise, and how it has to be. So that is called as a sort key. That means how we need to make a sorting of a ledger. Here which I have given 001, that means it can be have the posting date. Same here also in the profit and loss by using the posting date. So, and the last one, here the option is field status group. Field status group. Here which I am giving that Z001, which is the general, which was the general. G001 in the sense of general, and as well as Z05 or here in this Z029 means revenue accounts, as like as G005 Z005 bank accounts, as like as here G001 general account. That means whenever we are going to create the ledgers, so initially we require about of these of the fields for creation of a general ledgers. What do you want? So all the ledgers has been divided into the two types. One is the balance sheet and the second one is the profit and loss. And the balance sheet accounts comes under the balance sheet we can have the liabilities, assets, capitals, but under the profit and loss we can have the incomes and expenditures. Expenditures. As like as under the balance sheet, these can have the only the items of the company code currency, not the other than the company code currency. But in the profit and loss account, we can have the other than the company code currency also. That means we should have where other currency also can be acceptable for these of the ledgers. And as well as in the balance sheet accounts can have the opening balances. That means balance sheet accounts can have the opening balances for maintaining of the previous years of the balance into the present year. But in the profit and loss accounts, we should not have the opening balances. Why? Because whenever it will be ends, that will be going to close. And the next option will be the item-wise displaying. All these of the ledgers whatever the transactions which they are having, those can be having the open item balance, and as well as the itemized display should be the mandatory. Itemized display will be the mandatory. And last but one is sorting. That is nothing but like a sorting. How to maintain or how to sort the ledgers report, then we can have it here as an 001. I want to maintain the ledgers or I want to see the ledgers report by using by the Z001, the Z001 in the sense of posting date. By the date wise, I can maintain this all the reports of the general ledgers. And at last, field status group, that means which of the fields are required and which of the fields are not required. So here we can maintain the for the balance sheet accounts of the liabilities and everything, it should be the general, that was in Z001, and whatever the bank accounts, it should be the Z005. As in the same manner, for the general ledger accounts in the profit and loss account will be the Z001, and as well as for the revenue accounts, that means all the income accounts should be, can have the Z029. Z029. And after completion of this, let me start to create the ledgers now. How to create the general ledgers. So for creation of a general ledgers, from here in the menu path, SPRO, SAP reference IMG. Let me log in again. From here, SPRO, SAP reference IMG, SAP reference IMG. Under that, financial accounting. Financial accounting. After the financial accounting, general ledger settings, general ledger accounting. Under that, GL accounts, master data, preparations. Under that, already we have done our preparations, so that we don't require the preparations. Under the GL accounts, master data, GL account creation and processing, GL account creation and processing, and edit GL account. Under that, edit GL account central link, edit GL account central link. That means whatever the ledgers which we want to create here, we need to go for SPRO, SAP reference IMG, financial accounting, general ledger accounting, GL accounts, master data, GL account creation and processing, and there edit GL account, edit GL account central link, edit GL account central link. So this is what we can create for the general ledgers. The menu path will be like this. The menu path will be like this. Just go for edit GL account central link, and go for new entries. Instead of the new entries, here we can have the, first of all we need to change the settings. Here I am making the hierarchy displaying. Display accounts in navigation tree. Now if you can see, edit GL account central link, that which we can have in a multiple of the options. Multiple of the options. Like here, first of all we need to go for, these are some of the symbols will be shown. Find, create, displaying, change, copying, block, and sat for deletion, copying, and update, and as well as the print view. So here we can have the find, create, and then displaying, change or edit, and then copying, block, delete. So first of all we need to create here. So then first create, sorry, first of all create, And what is the ledger we want to create? So as which we discussed already, we have created the ledger books. Here we have created the ledger books in the name of SAMC. Excuse me. So here we have taken as assets, capitals, liabilities, incomes and expenses. Everything we have taken. But here we need to go for, first of all, create. So here when we are going to the create, it asking about of, first of all, GL account. What is the GL accounts which we require? What is the GL accounts which we require? So the ledger number which I want to create as an one. The ledger number one in the sense of in the liabilities. Why? Because here we can see here we said that the liabilities can have the 1 to 99. So that here ledger number one I want to create here in the company code of S123. Then press enter. See, now up to here whatever we have done, if there is any mistake and also it was not working. So that here we need to make a careful, whatever we have done up to here, everything should be clear. If there is any mistake and will be happen, the ledgers cannot be created from here. That means anything is missing, it should not be creatable. I'm having one dot here for the company code of S123. Yes. Okay, no problem, madam. This was finished. Now let us see. Let's go for create. Let's go for create in the company code of S73 in the ledger number of 1. Number of 1. Here the account group. The account group is liabilities, and the liabilities will be considered into the balance sheet. As which we said that the liabilities are considered into the balance sheet. Here in the first step also we have mentioned that the liabilities is considered into the balance sheet. That was the first step. And the next, it will be considered to the balance sheet. And what would be the description? That means what is the ledger we want to go for creation of it here in the sense of I want to create the ledger with the name of the liabilities under the liabilities, which I am saying that current liabilities. Let me go for current liabilities. And in the current liabilities, so see here the first option which we have done, liabilities, assets, capitals. And the next option, in before of the next option we are going for here, select control data. In the control data, as which we discussed, the balance sheet can have the opening balances or not, or else the balance sheet can have the only balances in local currency. So that here activate the only balances in local currency. And also here can we go for open item management, as which we said that already the balance sheet accounts can have the opening balances with here. So that here open item management and as well as the item wise display. That means the balance sheet accounts can have the line item display also. And the next option will be the sort key. The sort key will be the 001 for the sort key here. The posting date wise, it can be report all the ledgers, and then create bank interest. In the create bank interest, it asking about of the field status group. So what was the field status group in the sense of, by depending upon this field status variant, we can have the which of the ledgers are required, which of the fields are required, and which of the fields are not required when posting of a transaction. Here we need to give that what would be the field status group. Here the field status group was Z001, and just make it same. And now here change the company code. Instead of the 1000, let me take it as S123. That's great. See, under the S123, and under the S123, it can contains the ledger account group of so and so, and even the S123 can have the account book of liabilities, and these liabilities can have the ledgers from 1 to 99. Under that, the ledger number 1 is current liabilities. Under that, the ledger number 1 is current liabilities. Current liabilities. And after that, if I want to create another one, let's go for create and give the ledger number 2. Enter. Here in the type description first, what would be the account group? And it will become considered into the balance sheet. And here, what is the text? As which I am saying here, it is an secured loans. Secured loans. And if we can go for the control data, only balance in local currency. Open item should be there for the balance sheet. And profit and loss also should be, sorry, line item display also will be there. And as well as sort key. The sort key was 001. That means by posting date wise. And in the create bank interest, and the field status group was general. And just make it save. So instead of this creation, we can make the copy also for this instead of the creation. How it was in the sense of, select the source and make a copy, and whatever the ledger which I am having number 2, that has to be copied into the number 3. Enter. In the account group of the same liabilities, but instead of the secured loans, we can take it other liabilities or else outstanding expenses. Yeah, outstanding expenses, and just make it say. That means instead of the creation, we can make a copy of that one also, but one has to be creatable. If we have created the one, automatically the second one can be used here. And now, even from the one group to same, not the same group also, from one group to another group also, we can make a copy. That means select here and go for copying. And here I am giving that 100. 1 to 99 is the liabilities, but 100 to 199 is the capitals, so that are assets. Here, instead of the liabilities, let me take it as capitals. No, capitals will be having from 200 to 299. So that here instead of the capitals, it is comes into the assets. Even assets also will be considered into the balance sheet. And in the balance sheet, we can have the ledger of assets as in ledger of the assets as in cash in hand. Cash in hand. That's it. Everything is the same of the balance sheets. So just say it. As like that. Copy here. 101. Cash at office. cashier office. And the same manner, 102, current account, current account. Let me take it as savings account. That means which bank, whatever the bank accounts which we are having, we can create from here. So as in the same way, we can create all the ledgers. Instead of the creation, we can make a copy of this one. Even here, copying from 200 from 102. Here it will be called as a capital accounts. Capital accounts. Here in the capital accounts, which I want to give here as an equity share capital. Equity share capital. And just save it. That means simply we can set that if we know the creation of one ledger, automatically we can create all the ledgers. If we can create one ledger, we can go for all the ledgers of the others also. So here I want to create the after the balance sheet accounts, I want to create the profit and loss accounts. Make it copying. Now it was in a 300. But as which we said that in the incomes will become general to the profit and loss, and here the ledger will be the sales revenue. Sales revenue. But in the control data, the profit and loss account should not have the only balance in local currency. Why? Because they can have the out of currencies also. So that leave it. And there is not required of the open item management also. And then create bank interest for the revenue account. It will be showing as an Z029. And just make it as same. And as well as copying 301 here, cash discounts received in a company, whatever the discounts which I have received, those of the things also is the revenue for me. Cash discounts received, and just save it. And in the same manner, whatever the incomes, that means the revenue ledgers which we want to create, we can create here. And the next, make it as an 400, and there it was an expenses. It was an expenses. Under the expenses, what we want? Under the expenses, we require the purchases. Purchases. But here it was not an Z029, it was an Z001. That is in a general account. And as well as 401. 401. Instead of the purchases, here it was an rent paid. Rent paid. As like as salaries paid. 402. Salaries paid. Or else a number of the things. That means whatever the things which we can have, everything we need to maintain here. So first of all, we have maintained this all these ledgers. As in the same way, whatever the clients have, whatever the clients requires the ledgers, all the ledgers has to be created from here itself.